Hello everyone. On today's video, we have kind of a nice little treat. I'm not going to be doing any flying. Unfortunately, that doesn't spare you from my usual gab, but that's okay. Joining us today is this gentleman named Austin. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there. My name's Austin. I'm currently a private pilot with instrument rating. I'm actually end of course for my power commercial. And in addition, I also have my glider certified flight instructor, and that's what I do for a living.
All right, awesome. So today, Austin's going to be joining us, and we're going to be doing a simulated commercial check ride. It just seemed like it'd be kind of like a neat opportunity because he's getting towards the end. He's going to have to do this for real, and it would also be kind of fun for our viewers to actually be able to see a little bit what it's like. You'll notice I'm sitting here in the right seat today. This is the JMB-VL3. It's a pretty good plane. Usually, when people think commercial, they think something a little bit bigger, like a Beechcraft Baron or something like that. But believe it or not, this is a complex aircraft. And one stipulation I will also make is the fact that, in case you missed the Update 3 flaps fiasco, you're probably well aware of the flight model damage, so we're going to kind of go with it. All right, so at this point, I'm going to turn everything over to Austin, and we're basically going to get going. So if you'd be so kind as to please start up the aircraft.
Right. First, I'm going to go through a little bit of briefing here. So we're sitting here, two people who've done our weight and balance, then specifications. We are going to fly from here, Cape Cod Gateway, and we're going to be heading over westbound to what is it, Cape Cod Foxtrot Mike Hotel. We'll do some maneuvers along the way, and yep, we'll do some more briefings right before takeoff. But that should conclude it for now. Role of the passengers is going to be to watch out for any traffic. Always assume that the pilot, myself, does not see the traffic. Sounds good for now. So we're going to run through the before engine starting checklist.
All right.
So the fuel selector, going to go put it to the fullest tank. Right now the tanks are level, so we'll just switch it to the left tank for now. Actually, let me check the time. It's currently 10:45, so I'm going to have it on the right tank. Just a rule of thumb: if you wear a mechanical watch, if the minute hand is on the right side, I'd like to have the tank on the tank that's it's feeding from on the right, is the right tank, and the minute hand is on the left side of the watch, feed from the left tank. Just a quick and dirty way to keep track of which tank you're feeding from, so you don't run out of gas in one. All right, so throttle's idle, choke, hold, master switch coming on, avionics master on. Let's see, take a quick look at the outside air temperature. Let's see, I do not see the outside air temperature display, but I do.
59. Well, if we're cold, we're probably going to be whatever the outside temperature is.
Yeah, it looks like the CHD and EGT are 59, so that's probably a pretty safe bet. All right, so choke's on, master on, avionics on. Fuel pump coming on. This one sounds really weird in this plane.
I never hear it, to be honest.
All right, brakes are fully applied. Parking brakes on. Go and engage the starter. And there we go. Bring it down to about 2,000 RPM for idle till we get the oil temperature up. That's coming right up. Not
Or was the
quite realistic.
fastest heat? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, what do
Yeah.
they have this? They have 60 W200 in this.
Yeah. All right. So, yep, oil pressures coming up. Oil temperature. Volts good. Yep. Choke coming off, and parking brake coming off. And I'm going to continue to hold the brakes here. All right. So, winds today are favoring runway 33, or mostly so. I'm going to zoom in on the right screen, G3 there. I'm not sure if that syncs over in the share cockpit plugin.
Usually it
but
does.
Okay. So I'm zoomed in here, get a good taxi diagram. Looks like we're just going to turn around, take a right, and follow the taxiway to the left, and then right there, there's runway 33.
All right. We've gotten permission to go ahead and taxi whenever you're ready.
All right.
And this
Fortunately,
feels.
the turning radius is pretty tight in this thing.
I was going to say, we could probably just get out back, push down on the tail, and rotate it in place.
Yep. Normally we could do that, but our little buddy there in the pushback is not the most helpful in the world.
No, not at all. It's like, come on, man, give us a hand. Give us a hand. Now,
All
what
right,
is
approaching.
good?
All right, we're approaching runway 6 here, so we're going to go ahead and check the departure and arrival end, make sure there's no traffic. And you were saying something?
No, I'll get you warm in the air.
Okay.
Now, you do a pretty quick taxi from what I'm getting here.
Yep, it's actually an idle too. It's mostly just the static thrust of the engine running at idle.
I mean, they do call it the
Probably
DL3.
fast. Yeah, probably faster than I should be, but if you don't tell, I won't.
I always forget the number of that form that you can fill out to basically get yourself out of jail free.
Oh yeah, the NASA form. Yep.
That's the one.
All right, we're gonna go and set the parking brake. As far as the checklist in the sim, they only give us the before start checklist and engine start checklist. So we're just going to have to kind of make everything up as we go. I've never flown an actual VL3, so I can only kind of make assumptions based on what I have flown.
It's all right.
Okay, so let's see. I have gotten myself into a pickle here with the radios. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do our before takeoff checklist. So first things first, yep, we're going to make sure, verify our fuel is on and the fullest tank. See our ignitions both. We'll go ahead and run it up to about 2,700 RPM. So that seems a bit low on this airplane, so we'll do about 3,000 RPM. We'll go and do a mag check. So check the right mag, watch the drop. Both inspects, back to both. Back up to 3,000. Oops, that's in start. All right, left mag. Drop. Both inspects, about 50 RPM on both. Back to both. Gonna bring it up. Watching our oil temperature. Bit on the high side, but still within the green. All right, I'm gonna check our idle. Now, this is, I believe, a FADEC powered airplane, so there's not much we have to do for as far as the run up. But here we're gonna verify the idle. Coming down probably a bit higher than it would be in the real thing, but I'm happy with it. It's not stalling out on us. So back to about 2,000 RPM. And going to go and maneuver so we can see the approach end of the runway. Watch out for any traffic that's coming.
Now, the reason you tilted the plane towards that direction was to try to get it into the wind?
Yep, just for cooling. I believe this is Rotax at least, so it's going to be liquid cooled. The Rotax I fly can have the tendency to overheat on the ground. It actually runs cool in the air, so it's when you're on the ground, always try to be mindful of where the wind's coming from, and if you're sitting there, just kind of trying to make sure that the wind's blowing through the cowl while your engine's not producing thrust, and you're stationary, so the relative air is not moving.
Gotcha. No,
All right,
that's an
enough on
excellent
that.
tip.
Enough on that. Brief this takeoff. So if we have a engine failure prior to rotation, what we're going to do is we're just going to maintain directional control on the runway and steer straight ahead. Try not to run off the runway. If we do have energy remaining as a courtesy, we can try to take a taxiway off the runway, but that's very last resort. If we have an engine failure after rotation, we're going to land straight ahead. If there's available runway, we can try to take that. We'll put flaps full down. The landing gear will already be down at that point, so we don't have to worry about that. Engine failure, if we're to stay about I would say about 500 to 700 feet or so. We can turn. We don't particularly want to do a 180-degree approach, although with this thing, it's very feasible. But still, just for the sake of good habits, we'll continue straight ahead. That covers that. So let's see, go into that takeoff flaps. See, landing light is already on. And if we are clear for takeoff, we can go ahead.
All right, we've been cleared for takeoff.
All right, so here we go. We've been cleared for takeoff, runway 33. So see the red number there.
Approach is clear.
All right, so as we roll up, here's runway 33. We verify with the big white numbers, and we can see on our heading, we're heading 33. So we're coming up on the throttle, feeding in that right rudder. Watching as our static manifold pressure. We can go ahead and rotate. Very short takeoff roll in this thing. We're going to maintain about 65.
Wow, this thing goes up really steep.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Go ahead and duck the flaps up. Now our maximum gear speed is, I believe, 81 knots. There's a placard on the right side. You can probably verify for that for me.
81.
Yep, 81. So go ahead and retract the gear. Now that we're in a position that if we had engine failure, we would want the gear up for maintain a best glide. All right. We're well past 500 feet, so I'm going to go ahead and bring back the manifold pressure to bring the RPM back into the green there.
I think it's constant speed. There he goes.
Yep. Yeah, this would be a good time to play with the RPM. Yeah, I do not have any control without an axis set of the RPM. I don't have any control of the RPM, so I'm just going to treat it like it's a FADEC.
Absolutely.
That's automatically controlling the RPM for us.
Gotcha.
Yep, so RPM's in the green. We're still climbing very good at 72 knots.
All right. Would you be so kind as to bring your heading to 2906 and climb to 2,500, please?
All right. We're going to 296 and up to 2,500.
Awesome. All right, we're basically going to be taking this a little bit over to a little soft field where we're going to be doing a couple of the commercial maneuvers. I'm going to go ahead and change the zoom on the right display there to make it a little bit easier. You could probably bring yourself another 15 degrees to the left there.
All right.
Just trying to line us back up. There we go. If you look right off your 12 o'clock there's Otis Air Force Base. That's where our ultimate destination is going to be today. But for now, we're going to be heading to a little tiny grass strip. Right, that's perfect right there. All right, the interesting thing is when you go to Cape Cod via air versus via the highway, it is a much less miserable experience, especially during the summer, unfortunately.
Beautiful scenery here.
Yeah, it's absolutely lovely. I mean, this time of year, obviously, it would be a little bit snowier. And if you look at where I want to say, let's say 12:30, 1 o'clock, there's a small grass strip. It kind of looks like a big conglomeration of all sorts of runways and stuff like that. And you can kind of catch it.
Yep, I see it.
Yeah, that is going to be our ultimate destination. All right, so we've taken care of that. So what we're going to do is once we get over to that destination, we're going to do our soft field landing. Once we do our soft field landing, we'll go ahead and do a couple exercises with both stalls as well as spirals, and then we're going to have our Otis for some other maneuvers as well. So it should be pretty easy.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Now, how long have you been flying?
All right, so I took my first flight back in 2007. Got my solo done and started my flight training seriously in, I believe, 2013, 2012, one of the two. And see, I got my private and my private pilot in, I want to say 2014, 2015. Got my glider rating in 2015, 2016. Got my instrument around that time as well. And yeah, here I am now, just about to get my commercial done and see about flying for a living. Well, It's already do instruct, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Exactly. Now, I'll go pick your brain on that one in a second, but we'll do a couple maneuvers while we're up here. Okay, so I remember when I was first learning to fly, and I'm sure this is a very similar experience. One of the things they did with us, after you did like the day where you did all the turns in the air, I'm sure you remember, is you did a couple different types of stalls. Now, I believe on the commercial, you still have to demonstrate those.
Yep.
All right, so we have 3 different stalls we got to see, although realistically, we'll just do the 2. Could you demonstrate for me a power off stall and recovery?
All right. Yeah, sure thing. Just one question. Would you like that in a clean configuration or a dirty configuration?
We're going to do it in
Typically done
clean.
in dirty.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only reason we're doing this in clean, folks, is because like that patch has damaged the lift of flaps just a little bit. So our stall speed is now 9 knots with the flaps down. Just a little thing. All right, whenever you're ready.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to simulate an approach. So we're going to go ahead and slow to approach speed, maintaining altitude. Then we're going to descend probably 100 to 150 feet or so. And then our goal is to maintain that speed and through the stall.
Okay, now I've never flown a plane that stalls at less than 50 knots. This is already mind-boggling.
All right, so there's 50 knots. That's a pretty good approach speed. So I'm going to descend to 2,400, and then I'm going to maintain the altitude, and then stall.
All right. This is the easy of the 2 stalls.
You see, it's the descent rate engine off is
Nothing.
pretty flat, yeah. There's the stall horn. We're going to hold it to the full stall, though. We're holding. And there's the brake. So we're going to drop the nose, bring the power up full, and then recover.
Very smooth. Very smooth. All right. If you could kind of take a nice gentle right turn to try to keep as close to that soft field off your 3 o'clock.
Yeah, sure thing.
Just trying to keep high. Now, I remember the first time I did that, the whole thing buffets very viciously. Now, how would it... I mean, obviously, do you have any experience in aircraft this small?
I would say so. Especially gliders that are even lighter than this. Yeah, they're... actually, the lighter they are, I'd say the more you feel the buffet. But typically the lighter the wing loading, so the weight of the aircraft compared to the area of the wing, so the lighter the wing loading, the less dramatic the actual stall will be.
That's interesting. That's interesting. All right. Would you be able to demonstrate a power on stall or a departure stall?
Yep. All right. So we're going to go ahead and slow it down here to about rotation speed. Then we're going to apply full power and pitch up.
All
now
right.
this thing is so overpowered. The pitch up is going to be ridiculously high.
We're going to be standing on the propeller.
Yeah, it would be quite scary in real life, but I think that won't be too bad here in the sim.
All right, let's check it out.
I'm not in VR or anything. So full power, pitching up.
Oh man, you can feel the weight on your chest. This is ridiculous. I feel like you could do a loop with it. Oh man, it just does not want to break.
No, not at all. I'm gonna have to. There's the warning.
Yeah, but
I'm
still
gonna
climbing.
pitch up even more.
Oh
this is
boy,
ridiculous. 30 degrees pitch up, making sure to keep it coordinated with the rudder, especially with power on, because if you're not coordinated, it'll drop a wing in a hurry.
Yep. Even though we could probably fly through it, as dangerous as that sounds. Oh, there's the buffet.
And there's
Whee!
the stall. Correcting the wing drop with the rudder, and then starting to climb again.
Wow, and it comes right back up. No secondary stall or anything. That's impressive.
Not at all.
Impressive. Oh, awesome. Okay. Would you be so kind as to drop us down to 1,000 feet after doing a 180-degree turn? We're going to be setting us up over to the general airport, so I don't want to get too far away from it. You're going to see it right off your left wing now.
Yep.
Nice little soft field there. All right, awesome.
All right, we're going to drop it here in idle. Typically in a, I would say normal, but air-cooled engine, like most Lycomings and Continentals, you wouldn't want to be doing this descending with power idle. But since we're road tax, it's
water cooled anyway.
Cooled. Yeah, water cooled.
Yeah.
This does not matter much.
Absolutely. Okay. So if you take a look, I'm not going to move my head too much. There's a big golf course, and we're basically coming right by on our, I think it's about our two. You can see it better than I can through the aircraft. So if you'd be so kind as to demonstrate a soft field approach and landing.
All right.
Now, I think the first time that I did a soft field landing, I thought I broke the plane. I don't know
Oh
if you had
yeah.
a similar experience.
Uh, Not quite. I actually at this point don't even remember my first soft field. So it must have been pretty uneventful if I can't remember it.
Just bumpier than I thought. I think that's how I describe it.
Yeah, especially all the glider flying I do. That's typically off of soft field, so it's very much a non-event for me.
Gotcha. Suck the fun right out of it. Have you done anything with float planes at all?
Not yet. It's definitely on my bucket list.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I'm not sure exactly which one of these things look like runways, so I'm just going to use the
Use what you got.
one of them.
Yeah, because I believe this is an old runway that they basically tore up, and they just kind of left it as a little grass field here. But you got some really, really nice and expensive houses down there, so it's always good to shake their china.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the reason we fly to Martha's Vineyard, just to annoy rich people. What do you mean that's not the active approach? Oh, I better go around again.
Unfortunately, this thing is not quite loud enough to
Do that kind of
deliver
damage.
on that.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like an angry weed whacker.
Yeah, to say the least.
All right, there's our field. Got ourselves a nice little downwind here.
All right, so we're slowing up to flap speed. It's gonna float on us, but we'll just have to compensate.
Yeah, I'd probably say if you're going to use flaps, use minimum again because of that silly bug that Microsoft introduced a few days ago.
Right. So I'm gonna use not one notch because that's very minimal, but we'll probably use 2 notches here.
Okay, we're gonna have to come in like a hot air balloon then. Nice seats in this thing. Although I don't know
Yeah,
how
it's
adjustable they are.
real nice upholstery.
I guess I'm too used to the 1970s decor.
Yeah. Yeah, most planes are definitely built in that 70s, 80s range. There's a lot of brown.
In vinyl.
Yeah, brown and vinyl. Which it actually doesn't look all that bad when when it holds up. But the amount of decrepit planes I've flown, it's you can definitely tell the age. All right, so we're going to go and do our gumps check. So our gas is on, fullest tank, undercarriage coming down.
I thought it's a switch.
Yeah,
Just naughty.
it's very unsatisfying. All right, rolling out on final. All right, so mixture and prop controlled automatically. Then switches, fuel pumps on, landing lights on.
Yeah, pretty smooth landing so far. Yeah, you can definitely see it.
All right, so what we're going to do here is right in the flare, I'm going to bump in some power, and it's going to be quite the floater, but going to just be as soft as possible.
Gotcha.
So coming up in the flare here, bumping in a little bit of power, bringing her down, bringing her down,
Eventually.
bringing her down, and just like that, power to idle, holding the nose off the ground for as long as possible using minimal braking.
Somebody's done this landing before. This one wheelies really nicely too. I'm impressed.
Yeah, no kidding. Makes me want to fly the deal. See if this simulator version's a faithful rendition of it. All right, flaps coming up. We continue to hold the stick back. We're gonna need to get on the brakes a little bit here. We're getting a little close to that van running up ahead.
I was gonna say I think that's the 8th hole, so we gotta watch out.
Yeah.
Come bouncing around here. And if you go ahead and do a soft field takeoff.
Yep, we're gonna go and taxi back. Actually, you know what? If you don't mind,
Sure.
since we're all the way here at the end of the runway, and this thing is quite the short field performer, might as well
Yeah,
just take off the opposite direction.
sure. I mean, we got like a good 2 knot wind here. That's pretty
Yeah.
negligible when you have a short takeoff aircraft. Normally, we'd have to go bounce all the way back.
All right.
Whenever you're
So we're
ready.
holding this stick back, and the nose is going to want to come up here in a hurry. We just want to catch it.
Good thing we installed a metal skid on the tail.
Yeah, no kidding. Then flaps up, and then we're at a climbing speed. Not a problem.
Nicely done.
Yeah, that nose comes up violently fast.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Usually it starts doing the oh.
Yeah,
That's so
exactly.
sketchy. All right, if you could make your heading 270, please.
All right, heading back here to the west.
I'll let you take care of cleaning up the plane.
Yep, flaps are up. We're at a good altitude here, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the power back. And gear coming up.
It's just, I feel like I'm gonna break that switch.
Yeah. I don't see like an alternate gear extension system either, so be very interesting to see what would happen if you did manage to break off that nubby little switch.
I think we have a right handle for that. It's to the right of the console.
Oh yeah, right there. Look at that. I wasn't sure if that was a ballistic recovery chute or if that was a
Oh, it could be.
gear extension.
Oh, now you got me questioning. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have to go look that one up now, because it
As
seems
you
a
can
little
tell,
sketchy.
we've done our homework.
As you could see, we didn't spend the last 3 days trying to figure out what airplane wasn't completely broken by the flaps. All right, so when we get to Otis, I'm going to have you go ahead and do a normal approach and landing, and then we're going to do a little bit of altitude, do a couple more maneuvers, make our way back, and we should be in great shape.
All right.
Now, question for you. So years ago, you were mentioning that you did it. So I understand as a private pilot, when you do your first solo, they cut a hole out of a shirt.
Yep, that is the the long-standing tradition.
Okay. Now, what shirt did they claim?
So I did my initial flight training in the first solo out of an academy. So we had a uniform. So we had these blue shirts that were, we just wore every day at that academy. So they gave us two actually. So one, so the cockpit didn't get too stinky, but two, so we had one we could essentially sacrifice to the cause.
That's so funny.
So after my solo, yep, they cut the shirt tail and got doused with a refreshingly cool bucket of water.
Oh, see, I didn't have that part, thankfully. I feel like all my
This was in the middle of summer, so it was very welcome.
Absolutely. All right, so our traffic pattern altitude at Otis is going to be 1,100 feet.
All right, and we're sitting here right about 500 feet above traffic pattern altitude. Should be good to maneuver into the traffic pattern.
Absolutely. We're not going to worry about the radio communication, but I'm sure you also remember the first time you had to press the radio button.
Oh yeah, lots of stuttering.
And the worst I think ever happened to me is when they gave me a choice about something. I think that's when I lost all my confidence. You can do left or right traffic. What?
We're gonna go and overfly the field and join left traffic for whichever runway this is.
A tree two?
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Okay. Now, interesting, this is Otis Air National Guard Base. There's been a lot of military action here over the years. This is basically the premier air defense position, basically on the East Coast up in this kind of New England area. The other one, of course, being Presque Island up in northern Maine as well. So as you're flying over, if you actually look super duper carefully at some of the details on the outside of the base, you can see where they used to put the old Nike SAM system, which is actually a pretty wild. You can still kind of see what's left of something from the Cold War. I always thought that was cool.
Man, that is insane. I haven't done much flying in this part of the country, but I surely intend on it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind the traffic kind of a thing, it's the whole Northeast Corridor kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
We're putting along.
Yeah,
Without that without that RPM control, it's thing just
We're just
really
kind of going.
cruise is kind of slow compared to what it's slated to do. So I'm going to actually bump up the power.
Yeah, so it gets a little noisy. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure we're not going to cause any engine damage here, so I'm not worried about it too much. Yeah, there's Otis. That's for sure. You kind of got the civilian side on one side, and you got kind of the Air National Guard base kind of on the other side. You can actually look out your left wing and see kind of where all the bunkers and ammunition storage and all that stuff is. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
oh yeah. And looks incredible even in this default scenery.
Yeah. Like I said, I figured we'd pick something nice and big so it'd be easier to show off your eights and stuff like that. But we'll get there after we do our landing bit. Now, have you ever been ramp checked?
Oh, no, I have not, fortunately. I say fortunately like I'd be doing anything wrong, but it's just, the
It's nervous.
more of a pain than anything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just one of those kind of fun things, that's all. All right,
Yeah.
doing kind of midfield. Yep. Let you take care of all that. This
So
is so
we're,
nice.
yeah,
I don't have to do anything.
it's been relaxing, drink in hand, serving you peanuts and whatnot.
Yeah.
All right. So we're descending now to traffic pattern altitude. We stayed above until this point just to make sure, we're not descending on anyone.
It's kind of rude.
Yeah, and I've been both on the giving and receiving end of that. It's not very fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you glider, you have right away at least.
Yeah, yeah. We do have that going for us.
Kind of looking at the
And
left
it
wing
was-
here.
Yep, looking out, obtaining kind of a wider pattern than we did at the grass field. I don't know what it is about these big airfields. Just always want to fly much wider than traditionally.
It's a scale thing. Like, the image in
Yeah.
your head, what do they call it? The flight picture? Oh, I always forget what the term is.
Sight picture.
Sight
Yeah.
picture. I knew you were going to get it for me. It's always about the sight picture. So if things get bigger, your sight picture stays the same
Right.
size, right?
Right.
And the cool thing is if you look at your, what would that be, about 8 o'clock or so, you can actually see the Christmas tree for interceptions, where they put all the fighter jets ready to take off at a moment's notice.
Oh yeah. All right. What kind of landing is this going to be?
We'll just do a standard landing. You don't have to do short field, soft field, anything
All right.
like that. Just put us on the ground.
Start feeding the flaps in.
Normally we'd have to communicate with tower and worry about all that stuff, but not going to worry about that today. Again, simple demonstration.
Yep, if you set the transponder code to 7600, you can do all this in real life, just as we're doing it now. No, not really.
That's like saying press Alt F4 for God mode. That is so wrong. So wrong. Folks, don't do that, please. Of course, if you're a real pilot, you know better.
I'm trying full flaps here. I was going to see.
Just how slow we can go.
Yeah.
Right. Go around,
this
please.
Go around.
Go around.
So we're flying full power, climbing up, watching that speed. Positive rate. We're putting our flaps up. Increase our speed a little bit. Flaps up more. Flaps up even more. So now typically it'd be turning crosswind at about this altitude, but since the climb performance is so ridiculous on this thing, and since it's such a large airfield, we're going to continue straight ahead, probably right up to our traffic pattern altitude.
All right, awesome. All right, could you take us up to about, let's say, 1,500 feet and demonstrate your eights, please?
All right.
I'll let you pick whatever orientation of the runway is going to be easiest for you. Again, the folks on the ground aren't going to mind.
Well, actually, for the eights on pylons, we're going to have to calculate our pivotal altitude is what it's called.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do is, I was experimenting with it earlier, and I think 90 knots is a good speed for it. So it's the ground speed squared divided by 11.3. So it's we'll do, since the wind is practically calm, we're just going to do 90 times 90 divided by 11.3 just doing on my phone here real quick. So pivotal altitude of about 716 feet above the ground level.
Gotcha.
And good question. What is the field elevation here? Between 0 and 100, I imagine.
Field elevation is 119 feet.
All right. So yeah, kind of high for being so close to the ocean. So 716 plus 119 is 835. So that's the altitude we're going to start.
All right, awesome.
You see, we're going to make adjustments as we go along.
Definitely. Now, this is a maneuver as non-commercial. This is basically new to me. I mean, we've played with figure eights in the air, but I've never gone this far. So this is definitely going to be new for me.
And just to kind of expedite things, for the sake of brevity, we're going to go ahead and enter right away. So for my point, I'm going to use my first point. I'm going to use the control tower there.
Okie doke.
So we're enter right here, about 45 degrees. Usually you'd have the other point picked out by now, but we're just going to make it up as we go along. Gonna roll into it. And the key is if you see it falling behind the point relative to the wingtip, you pitch up. See as the tower is kind of creeping forward, so now we're going to push down to catch back up with it. The key here is small corrections. So maintaining just a kind of a constant relative point among the front spar. Usually you see a line of rivets or a crease in the fiberglass, but we're just gonna have to keep it in an imaginary relative spot. All right, so now we roll out here, and we find another point off our right wing.
You got a nice looking house.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm using this intersection here between the roads. This little four-way intersection.
Got it.
Might be a little steep, but we'll make do. See, it's falling behind, so we have to increase our pitch. Caught back up with it, so we decrease our pitch. And the key here is a common error people do is they'll keep it uncoordinated with try to keep it on the point with the rudder.
Ooh.
But that is not the point of the maneuver. The point is to control it based on your altitude.
That's interesting.
Rather than your coordination.
Now, I'm going to ask the stupid question here because I kind of have to.
Go ahead.
Now I'm curious. When we were doing private pilot stuff, we did turns around a point. And that was
Right.
an exercise in maintaining a constant altitude.
Right.
So this is more of a constant position with altitude.
Yep.
That's interesting. That I would have gotten that one terribly wrong. Thank God I found a real pilot. All right, if you'd be so kind as to take us back towards Otis there and climb up to 3,000 feet, well, I'm going to have you demonstrate the steep spiral,
All right.
and we're going to make things complicated and make it an emergency landing on the way down also.
All right. Sounds good.
Of course, if
So
go ahead.
I'm climbing probably a bit faster and more aggressively than I would in the real airplane for the sake of cooling, but again for the sake of brevity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. See, in the real world, we don't have this thing called time acceleration, which is a real bummer.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I can get to Japan in 20 minutes. I love this. Although I think in this version of Flight Simulator, you can't count accelerated time as flight time, whereas in FSX, I think you could count it. So that's interesting how they fixed that. So your time is your time.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I even forgot it. Kept track of the time. I forgot. Yeah, the forgot each airplane there has the little hops meter there that ticks up with time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't run it backwards like you can run the old cars. I got to run the odometer back. No, so the engine's running, it's going up.
Yeah, right. And some of them it's a oil pressure switch. So as soon as the engine has oil pressure, some it's based on the master. Some it's actually based on both. All right, there we are, right at 3,000 feet.
All right, now if you could be so kind as to demonstrate a steep spiral into a power-off landing, please.
All right, so this is going to be a very interesting one in the fact that it's a low wing, so you don't get very good visibility of the point. So in a high wing, you'd fly basically right over it, and you could look down at it through the pilot's window, and then you'd start your turn. But This can't quite do that. We're just going to have to kind of bank
J-
into a maneuver and pick out one from there. So we go power idle.
Whee!
Yep, we're looking at the left. So I'm going to make the point, the intersection of that taxiway. So we're going to maintain the airspeed of about 100 knots. So diverting the attention from the point on the ground to the airspeed. Now this maneuver is very similar to the private pilot turns around point,
Very.
in that you have to roll out the bank and when you're heading into the wind, and steepen the bank when you're flying downwind.
Yes. That I do remember. We always had a church steeple for that one.
Again, watching the coordinator, that's a good way to bust a check ride.
Absolutely. This whole time you were going to be working those feet. All they find in these little guys, it doesn't take that much feet.
And the pressure is typically pretty light. All right, and there's 1,500 feet. We're going to go and recover there and turn that into a emergency approach and landing.
Sounds good.
Now, kind of anything goes here.
It's an emergency.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of fly a less than standard traffic pattern.
It's not quite the Sully traffic pattern, but it'll work.
No, not quite, not quite.
Unfortunately, we have tons of runway here. It's not like it's a golf strip back there.
Yep, and we have to go ahead and choose our point of landing because it's an accuracy landing. So we have to make that point within
100 feet, I think?
200 feet,
200 feet.
after 0 feet before.
That's right. That's right.
Yep, so hopefully we don't end up short. We're going to do the best here. It's, definitely a different experience than the sim.
All
right.
Choose your point.
I'm going to use the beginning of the 1,000-foot markers. So that's the big, bold, white markers.
Got it.
Typically, we want to be about 1,000 feet to beam the point, intended point of landing, but we're a bit below that, but it's okay. We can compensate. Getting a bit tight, so I'm going to swing it out a little bit.
Just be glad you're not doing this in an F-104.
Yeah, no kidding.
What do you mean we don't have blown flaps?
Actually, I will say, I'm going to go drop the gear here. I will say the worse performance it is, the easier it gets. Because you don't have to deal with the float.
Gotcha. It just sort of stops flying is the way I always describe it. Oh, it's on. Let's see how good your slip is.
Yep, we're going to drop flaps in here. They might increase lift a lot, but I've found in testing that it does actually help.
Gotcha. So it still gives you the drag, but that lift is obviously strong. And you can always do the emergency. Oop, the flaps went back up when I was over the ground. Don't
exactly.
do that.
So we're actually, again, the sight picture, we are way short. So I'm going to get it in the ground effect, build up some speed until we're there, and just hold it off with that magical flight simulator float.
All right.
And
oh, that's close.
Oh man, that was probably a little bit long, but you know what?
We're on the ground safely. Oh, that was awesome. No, that was great. That's fun to be a part of. That's fun to be a part of. All right, if you could spin us back up, clean the plane up, and start taking us back to where we started. It's going to be a Barnstable Municipal. All right, and along the way, once we get back over, just get a little bit of ground underneath us, I'll have you demonstrate the Chandel as well, which I know when you think commercial, that's one of the ones everybody's always, ooh, what about that one? I think the original... What's up?
The Chandel in this in particular is very interesting, as we're going to see. It's because it's very similar to the power-on stall. It's just we start off in a turn, and then we terminate wings level just before the stall. But remember, we were 30 degrees pitched up before we could even get it to stall, so it's going to be a very drastic maneuver, to say the least, in this thing.
Yeah. Now, my understanding with the Chandel is basically you're always trying to get out of a really tight spot and gain altitude, I think was the original purpose of the maneuver.
I mean, as far as the actual original purpose, who really knows? But what's commonly taught as the original purpose is, if you're heading into a canyon and there's no way out, it's maneuver to turn yourself around in the minimum space while gaining altitude and
Gotcha.
maintaining control. Now, what I will say is, original purpose aside, all these maneuvers, what they share in common is just to demonstrate that you have an advanced understanding of, the handling of the aircraft and can maintain control of it during various, dare I say, extreme, but different phases of flight.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I think that was the same thing with what we did back with private too. It's like, oh, demonstrate a square pattern. That seems familiar.
Yeah,
It should-
they don't just make you do these things just for the sake of doing them. They all have real,
Applications,
real
yeah.
life applications. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. We could probably hang. I'm just trying to work it out real quickly. Yeah, probably you could bring the nose over 5 degrees to the left. Although I think you can already see the runway, so I'm not going to bother you too much there.
It's pretty easy to see amongst the field of golf courses and expensive houses.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, obviously, you were saying you're from a little bit further south. Unfortunately, I didn't bring in any of our mountains here that we usually typically have up in New England, but it's kind of a bummer. Oh well.
You know what? I just wouldn't know how to handle myself with a terrain that's more than 100 feet off the ground.
So I can't visualize that. There, it's my feelings. All right, now, would you like to demonstrate that new maneuver, the Chento?
All right, so we're going to do the Chandel. So to do this, I'm actually going to swing ahead to the right. We want to pick a point off 90 degrees, either off our left or off our right, and that's going to be the point that we use as a reference for both when we have maximum pitch up and also to make sure we have exit in the maneuver exactly 180 degrees from the point where we started. So I'm just going to use, let's see, I'm going to use the airport we're heading to off our
Perfect.
left wing.
All right.
Just
Fortunately, I can't
put
see
that
the
off our
plane.
left wing.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, you should be able to see it once the roll wings level here, especially. I know the visibility can be pretty bad in the right seat there.
Well, the right side looks great.
Yeah.
Good thing we didn't do
All
this
right.
in a 152. Whenever you're ready.
Yep, so we have it off our left wing. We're here level flight. So we're going to do, roll into about 30 degrees, go full power, and we're watching that point. By the 90-degree point, we want to be maximum pitch up, which is right about there. And now we're going to roll wings to level. Watching out the right. Right there, exactly 180 degrees from the point. Now I let the nose drop there a little bit because the head, again, it's just so ridiculously high. But yep, that's about it. So we're gonna go ahead and recover
Whoa. As I float out of my seat a little bit there.
a little bit.
Not too bad. No, that was awesome. Thank you.
Gotta keep it fun. Yep, it was probably a little bit fast to end the maneuver, but again, it's just so ridiculously overpowered. It's hard to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Now do the split S. No. That's the wrong license. Or I should say ticket. All right, now, at this point, now you've done all the maneuvers wonderfully. If you could just bring us into a nice, safe landing back there at Barnstable, that'd be awesome.
Sure. You want this to be a standard landing, or you want me to demonstrate a short field?
Actually, I was going to say, if you could give us the short field landing, that'd be excellent.
Okay. And now for the check ride, you either have to do either the Chandel or the Lazy 8. I don't know how long you want to make this video, but if you want me to, I can also demonstrate a Lazy 8.
Okay. Why don't we do that? Is it something you could do over that other airport?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll do that when we get there then. Then we'll do the standard landing. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I was looking at the requirements for it. I'm not as savvy with those.
Yep. I think they're the more fun maneuver. I think they're a little harder than the Chandel just because they're longer and there's more going on.
Gotcha. So now the 8s on pylons, how does that similar to the lazy 8s? Or not?
So I will say not at all similar, other than the name. So the 8s on pylons are just kind of demonstrating different things. So the 8s on pylons, making sure you can maintain coordinated flight and climbs, descents close to the ground, and maintain that ground reference. Meanwhile, the lazy 8, the primary function is to kind of trade or show that you can trade altitude for airspeed and vice versa in a controlled, precise manner. So what it basically is like a kind of a split, or not split, sorry, you were talking about that earlier. S turn kind of thing, where actually, yeah, it's very similar to the S turns from the private pilot, but when you're kind of in the straight part of the S, or starting the turns, you're pitching up and starting a turn, and then as you let me think, as you hit the kind of the okay, yeah, so as you hit the 180-degree point, where you should be overflying more or less the point where you started the maneuver, you want to be nose down and back at the original altitude and airspeed which you started the maneuver, plus or minus. Oh man, I forget that. I think it's 100 feet, 10 knots.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that being perfectly precise. Again, in a flight simulator, it's going to be feeling different anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get to fuel the airplane, but I'll try to get it as close as as close as I can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely also a new one to me. I mean, we made figure eights, but it's a little different. And there's our Barnstable.
Yep.
Trying to figure out what those fields are. I think they're just regular fields. I don't think they're putting too much down there.
Start slowing up, leveling off your traffic pattern altitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can tell you've flown one or two traffic patterns in your life. Just call it a hunch.
You too many, if you ask me, but
It's like when your day consists of flying to another airport, touch and go, traffic pattern, touch and go, traffic pattern for 2 hours, and then you go back and you're like, you get to get in your car, but you have to circle your car 2 times before you can get in the door.
yeah.
Now, do you ever suffer from wanting to drive your car in the middle of the road because of taxiing too much? Or vice versa?
It's more wanting a taxi, not on the center line. If anything.
That's funny.
When you start off, you just want to be super precise and want to do everything exactly by the numbers. But dare I say, you get lazy as you go on.
Yes, it's a compliancy. Complacency,
yeah.
that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So if I catch myself being tired and just wanting to get back, I'll be weaving all over.
Yep, get a nice shot of the marina here.
And go ahead and do our gumps check. So gas now to our fullest tank, which is going to be our left. Undercarriage coming down, mixture prop, not applicable, landing lights on. Man, this thing is both super slow and super fast at the same time.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It is definitely a unique aircraft for this. Whoa! Hit that little burst of turbulence there. Yeah. There's that sight picture. It was like the little diagram they have in the book that shows like the different shapes of the runway depending on how high you are.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This one's going downhill. This one's going uphill. This one's banana shaped.
You feel a little bit of a left crosswind.
Yeah, you can see it from the 2 socks there.
Yep. Just keeping the nose straight with the rudder and counting that drip with the aileron.
This is our floaty float. Thank you, Flight Sim.
Oop, touchdown, a little side loaded there.
Mm-hmm. Whoa. This thing really wants to... Weather vane.
Yeah,
There's the word I'm looking for.
Missed that turn off, so we're going to put in some power just so, doesn't take 10 years.
Exactly. Hey, we're still technically on the runway, right? Now, did you ever do the cheat where you went to a long runway and you did a bunch of stop and goes, basically, to get the night requirement?
No, I never did that actually.
Ah, I can
I
get through.
actually did my night training at a controlled field. And yep, it just took forever. Actually, I think so for the commercial, there's the requirement for a certain number of night landings at a controlled field.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think I did that over 2, 3 nights just because it was so, monotonous. All right, so we were off, landing light coming off. And what's next for us?
All right. I think this is pretty much it. If you could take us back to the parking where we started, that'd be awesome.
Your thing.
All right. So,
See if I remember where we started. I think it's off to the left here.
yeah, if you take a left and go down, I'm looking. I got a little chart here. It's going to be our first right.
Okay.
I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So, any other comments? A piece of advice for anybody interested in this. Like, why did you seek your commercial rating? That's a good question to ask.
Honestly, mostly because I'd like to get paid for this eventually. It has been a lot of fun along the way. It's this right here.
Yep. Go ahead and take your first right. And then you got to do this kind of. It's irritating. All right, keep taking a right here. Oh, apparently we're about to cut somebody off, and there's a couple of later craft you're going to see.
All right.
I don't know if you have the van in front of you, but we're probably going to pile right through it, but I'm not worried about it too much.
I'm not sure if that's the same one I'm avoiding on your screen, but there's a forklift.
I think the concept is exactly the same there.
All right.
And then the gas pump is right off your right wing there.
All right.
Want to pull us in front of there? Okay. So you said it's a lot of fun. Obviously,
Oh, yeah,
getting
yeah.
paid for it is solid.
Yeah, where were we?
Yeah, exactly. So it's super duper expensive. So let me ask a question that I'm sure a couple people are going to ask. So now you do a lot more flying in the real world than I assume you do in the simulator. I'm just making a guess here.
Quite the contrary. It's a lot cheaper than the simulator.
Yes, it is. So my question is, what are the big differences? That's something everybody asks between the real world and the flight sim, in your opinion.
All right. So I will say. Okay, so the big one is going to be yeah, the feel of the aircraft,
Hmm.
which you can kind of get close with force feedback, but even there's not much force feedback options on the market today, but
At all. Somebody owns a
at
patent, I
all.
think.
Yeah, I've heard something about it expiring recently, so hopefully there's more along the way. But in the state of the market right now, there's absolutely none aside from like the
Sidewinder, whatever it was.
yeah, this whatever it was. Yeah, I had that back in the day. I don't think it worked very well.
It was all
But
right.
yeah, um, you can kind of get close to that, but even then, it's not the same thing. You see a lot of sim pilots trying to fly with the trim.
Hmm.
If that
Oh,
makes sense.
geez. Yeah. Well, it's so
Where
different in the real world,
yeah,
though.
yeah, because in the real world, you apply the pressure, then you trim to relieve the pressure. In the sim, you don't have, as you relieve the pressure, you kind of have to feed the stick back forward. So
Never works.
yeah, it never works well. Other big one I'll say is depth perception. Yeah,
Mm.
VR can actually get you really close to the real thing. Yeah, I know the graphics aren't the best, but
It's different, though. Being able to turn your head, that's nice.
yeah, yeah. I use TrackIR to get that same experience, but still, on a flat screen, and my eyes are constantly having to turn. It gets kind of natural after a while, but
Yeah,
and you can look to see things that as quick as you'd be able to want to in the real thing. But
absolutely.
the other big one is everything just looks different. Uh, I already touched on feels different, but
Hmm.
sounds different,
Mm.
smells different. There's so much more sensory overload going on that you can
Uh,
kind of get
it's,
lost in it.
yeah, you've kind of synthesized that whole experience into just a
Yeah,
visual
exactly,
one.
exactly.
But a lot.
Um, yeah. Other than that, obviously physics are different.
Yeah,
I will say, when the flight model is not broken, this uh, Microsoft Flight Simulator here does do a very good job.
awesome.
X-Plane does a pretty good job.
Hmm.
I mean, they all just kind of feel like they fly on rails compared to the real thing, but
Uh,
and yeah, especially with like the controls. I don't know if it's a thing for you as much, but for me, if I in the air, it only happens in the air too. If I go from full stick right to full stick left to full stick right, what will happen is it's kind of, I'll simulate it here. If you look at the stick, it
I'm watching.
starts off full left and then goes quick to the center, then it goes real slow, then it goes full right,
Hmm.
to a almost annoying level. You don't have that in the real plane. You have control pressure, which is hard to simulate, but
Yeah.
um,
I find rudders are basically impossible to get right in the flight simulator. Like
yeah,
it's a pressure, and like you know exactly how many toes you have to push down on it to get that exact amount of coordination, and I can't do that with something that I have to push
yeah,
across the
exactly.
floor.
In the real world, you mostly coordinate, with the
Your
feel of
butt.
the yeah, with your butt. If your left cheek is feeling heavier, you're uncoordinated, and vice versa. But this is just purely a visual
Yeah.
uh, means, which it's not the most important thing to stay coordinated in the simulator. But the
No.
only time you really want to is when if you're practicing stalls, because especially Microsoft Flight Simulator, you will drop a wing, and
Definitely.
you can even develop in a spin. This plane doesn't really spin because it flies so slow, but the 172 I think does handle very
Yeah.
realistically.
I've done
So
a 180 in it unintentionally, so it's definitely possible.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's
All
awesome.
right, so
Yeah.
that's it. We got shut down here.
All right. Go ahead and shut down.
So go ahead and see. Yep, landing lights on, off. Go ahead and flip the switch to off. Fuel pump off. Fuel to off. Avionics off. Master off, and that's that.
That's
Oh,
all.
and with that, it just put us back into the main menu there.
Apparently, we did okay here. All right. Well,
Yeah,
so I gotta say, thank you so much for your time here. I think it's incredibly awesome, and again, it makes me go, "Oh man, I haven't flown in so many years. I got the itch. I got the itch." It's just absolutely great to speak to another pilot who's basically looking to do this in a few years. Do you have any future words for wisdom for our audience?
if it's not really, it's an expensive hobby, for sure, but if it's what you want to do for a living, I think it's worth it so far. We'll see how I feel about it in a few years,
Awesome.
but
Now, do you have any hope to
yeah,
go like commercial, like ATP, anything like that?
yeah, that's the plan. Just to it's just kind of the you get amazing benefits for the most part. Once you're further developed in the seniority stream, there you get uh, amazing hours too. I have friends that only go to work once or twice a month.
It's
The
crazy.
money's not bad either, but it's definitely joyless compared to flying general aviation.
Gotcha. It's
So I will
work.
never be removed from the general aviation side. I tend on
It's
buying airplanes here, airplanes plural, as soon as I can reasonably afford to.
all right.
But that's just me.
All right. So thank you
um,
again, Austin.
yeah, of
You've
course.
been so helpful. This is great. And hopefully, folks at home, this video went a little on the long side. I apologize, folks. But this is for that audience who's interested in these kind of things as well. And I try to give a little bit of variety so everybody can see the different things. And again, thanks, Austin. And, stay safe and all. We're not quite through, as everybody knows, 2020, 2021, the big topic. But it's great that you can still fly.
Yeah.
All
It's,
right.
kind of a light at the end of the tunnel too. So
Absolutely. All right, folks.
hopefully we'll be out of it soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for
Definitely.
having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Enjoy.